Morning, everybody. How are you all doing? Hope you're having a fantastic day. So, June the 13th is celebrated annually as National Weed Your Garden Day. That is the day that is set aside for gardeners to spend extra 5 to 10 minutes working on the weed in their garden. If you're a gardener, you know that having a garden that's infested with weed is no fun. When you stay on top of the weed in your garden, you're in control. It makes gardening fun, it makes gardening bearable. So I just wanted to share with you some helpful tips that I use to keep my garden relatively weed free. And I would like to hear from you all how your garden looks like, in terms of weed. See, mine is relatively clean. Yeah. So share with me some of your tips that you have to keep your garden weed free as I share with you mine. A weed is defined as any plant that is growing where it shouldn't be growing, period. Unwanted plants. It could be something that you eat, but if it's growing where you don't want it to be growing, then it is defined as a weed. So one of the tips for me to keep my garden weed free is that I try to weed as often as possible. Like if it starts to show up, I try to get it out as often as soon as I see it. For example, these ones, the younger they are, the easier it is to pull out, and then maintaining is better than catching up, if you will. If the weed starts to get too much, then it's very difficult to keep your garden weed free. So I stay on top of mine. Every time I'm out here in the garden, I pull out weeds. And the second thing that I do is that I try to keep, you would see that the bed is away from the grass. Like I create that demarcation between where I have grass and where I have the bed. That way we don't have the grass trying to cross over to the bed over there and become weed. So when I dig, or I have the people that cut the grass that is closer to the bed a little lower. Sometimes I even ask them to just, you see what I'm talking about? Like right here, I have them cut the grass closer to the bed over there lower. Another thing that I do is mulch. I mulch to keep the weed down. Here's some grass still trying to grow despite the mulch. But I apply mulch to paths like this one. This is just a path. You see there's mulch. But I also apply mulch to the bed itself. This is mulch to keep the weed down. So yeah, mulching helps a lot. And the last tip is planting a lot of plants, like overcrowding. So when you plant a lot in the same space, it crowds out the weed. For example, my jamsu over here, you see the beds are relatively weed free. Every time something shows up, I pull it out almost immediately. So I enjoy a relatively weed free garden. And then the last tip is at the beginning of the season, try to root out all of the big the perennial weeds. Dig out the roots, till and dig out the roots, because when you have those perennial weeds, the weeds that keep coming back again and again and again, they come back from the roots. Make sure you dig out the roots at the beginning of the growing season. That way you don't struggle with weed throughout your growing season.